The story revolves around Utena. Obviously, the show is called Revolutionary Girl Utena. You figure she would factor into that somehow. So she's a little girl, and she is met by a prince on a white horse, and he says, man, you're really sad, you're bumming me out. Here's a ring, remember me, and this ring will lead you to me one day. So Utena ends up getting wrapped up in the duels at Atori Academy, because the rose seal is the seal of the school. The anime never really goes into how she ended up at Atori. You should read the manga if you are interested in a little more of Utena's backstory. But she accidentally duels this giant asshole named Saionji. And she ends up in possession of the Rose Bride, Anthe, who's the sexy brown girl. She is also one of only 2 brown people in the entire Atori Academy. There's really not a whole lot in terms of racial diversity there. But she believes that competing in the duels will eventually lead her to the prince that gave her the ring in the first place, and it does, but not in the way that she thought it was. In a way more depressing way. Hey, everybody, come in. Come in, sit down. I'm so glad that everybody is here, by the way. I did not expect this kind of turnout, so thank you for being here. I'm sorry if you were late. You didn't miss much. I haven't really started talking about the dicks yet. But anyways, so Utena Tenjo really wants to become a prince and rescue princesses, and Utena is all about like twisting gender roles and so on and so forth. So it's very typical of shoujo series in many ways. It's got a lot of the same themes. It's got the theme of adolescence, i.e. growing up is really scary. A lot of other shoujo series have this. Madoka is a really good example, except Madoka is like, growing up will kill you. Sailor Moon, like anytime there's a shoujo series, 9 times out of 10, it's about adolescence and growing up and discovering who you really are. So along with that, there's a lot of romance. Utena is all about the romance, but it's also all about romances that shouldn't be happening, like incest kind of stuff. Shoujo series usually feature a quote, innocent, prepubescent female protagonist. Let's go back and look at this picture of Utena. She's 14 in the show. She and Anthe are supposed to be 14-year-old middle school girls. Yeah, right. And shoujo series, a lot of times they tend to take place in a fantasy setting, or have fantasy elements to them, you know. Rose of Versailles is a good example. Utena takes place in like a boarding school at Atori Academy, but the architecture is very castle-like. You have the castle coming down from the dueling arena, but Revolutionary Girl Utena is all about the metaphysical and all about taking typical fantasy tropes and then just twisting them and making you feel bad about them. So it's all about the loss of innocence and the reality of growing up. I mean, for Christ's sakes, the movie was literally called The Adolescence of Utena. I don't think you could be any more plain about that. Adolescence is really hard, like a penis. So Utena spends so much time on topics pertaining to growing up. Like literally there are scenes, and I will show you one of them, directly saying, we're adults now, we can do this stuff, we can have sex in the back of a car. And then there's a lot of indirect stuff like symbolism and metaphor, and yeah, it's all about sex stuff. So phallic imagery, that's what we're here to talk about, right? Yup, penises. So phallus is a penis, and phallic imagery refers to literally anything shaped like a penis. Cucumbers, carrots, swords, cars, so on and so forth.
Cars.
Yeah. So Sigmund Freud, everyone's favorite crazy person, wrote a lot about dicks. He was all about the dicks, and all about like Oedipus syndrome and wanting to like fuck your sister and stuff like that. Yeah, screwing your mom, screwing your dad, all that stuff. So he said that males possess a penis, and that's what makes them male. But no one can possess the, quote, symbolic phallus, i.e. no one can really be the ultimate symbol of a man. Jacques Lacan, French psychoanalyst, words are hard. He wrote an essay called The Significance of the Phallus. I actually did a good amount of research on phalluses after my panel got approved. I was like, oh, I have to do research now, great. But he described the difference between having and being the phallus, i.e. men are positioned as men insofar as they are seen to have the phallus. Women, not having penises, are seen to, quote, be the phallus. The symbolic phallus is the concept of being the ultimate man, and thus having this is compared to having the divine gift of God. Now, you might think, women have vaginas, right? That's what makes them women. Tits and badges, that's lady stuff. They can't be the phallus. Utena will prove you wrong later, we'll get back to that. But there's a lot of phallic stuff in Utena. So we're gonna go back to playing Find the Penis. This picture has two. I only want you to find one of them. It's that. There it is. And this is one of the first images you see in the show. This is from the first episode when they're like setting up Utena being the cool kid at Atori Academy that everybody wants to get with. They're like this huge overview of the campus, and the first time I saw it, I didn't really pay that much attention, but the second time I saw it, I was real drunk, and I was like, that's a penis! Oh my god! Ikuhara, please! And then this is the other one, that's pretty obvious. And it's funny, because at the top of the giant penis tower lives the biggest dick in the show. His name is Akio, and he's a terrible person. Yeah, he's just awful. I mean, I love him. And that goes for a lot of the characters in the show. Where, like, they're terrible people, but they have really redeeming qualities, and you're like, man, I love you, but if I knew you in real life, I would really just want to, like, kick you in the nads really hard. But aside from the architecture, and like there are towers throughout the show, there's a lot of just like tall, slim. Words are hard. It's late, dude. It's Saturday night. I'm done. I was asleep this time last night. I don't know what I'm still doing up. I'm an old lady. But beyond that, the big phallic stuff are swords. Swords in Utena are very phallic because they're swords.
Saints Row 4?
I never played Saints Row 4.
There's a giant dildo.
Oh yeah, no, I know about the dildo sword. Yeah, whatever. We're not talking about dildo swords. So, you see this in a lot of situations. I mean, the swords are meant to be subliminally phallic, but then there are times when they're like, hey, this is meant to look like a penis, and we're gonna make sure you're aware of this. But we're gonna, the other thing is the rose motif. The duels play out where it's one-on-one, and the duel is over when a rose is knocked from the chest. And roses can be interpreted as sexual in a feminine sense. And Ikuhara has said himself in interviews that the dew-covered roses seen in the garden are meant to represent repressed sexual urges. So that would mean that the duel itself is a metaphor for sex, and losing your innocence, i.e. having your rose destroyed, is the penis entering the vagina and then making it explode. So here's one from the first episode. Here's Sionji. He's a crazy, controlling, misogynistic asshole. But I love him so much. It's great. So penises, and then we'll bring this scene up. Let's get out of my stock images of buffalo wings.
Nice.
こいつがただの剣じゃないのは知っていると思う。こういう使い方はどうだ。バラの花嫁、その身を捨てて剣を守れ。
The best part is her face right at the end. She's like, oh no, oh, did it screw the clip? That face. Oh, Mr. Toga-san. I'm so embarrassed. So if that didn't look like a blowjob to you, you're wrong.